Hey everybody, welcome to week 3 of the String 'em Up Christmas Challenge. I'm Dave Holland. Remember, our goal for this project is to learn the chord progression to one traditional Christmas song a week through the month of December, hopefully resulting in 4 songs ready to play by Christmas Eve, and actually with a bonus song ready by New Year's Eve. Now, all we really need to know for this challenge are some major and minor primaries, a handful of 7th chords, and the matrix. So let's jump into our Christmas Challenge Part 3, Away in a Manger. Last week, we looked at Silent Night, a waltz, which presented us with a couple of new challenges, accompanying in 3 and playing foundational or stationary bass notes. Now, this week's tune, Away in a Manger, is also a waltz, so we'll get to reinforce those skills we learned last week. However, to keep this week's video from simply being a retread of the Silent Night video, we're also going to introduce some minor secondary chords into the basic chord progression, giving us a song containing majors, 7ths, and minors. Also, we're going to up our game on our bass notes a little bit into alternating bass notes. Let's jump in. So, we're going to discuss Away in a Manger in the key of D. Now, notice that I'm trying to present a wide variety of keys and styles for the challenge. Why D? Well, simply, it's a very commonly played key which all guitar players should be conversant with. In its most basic form, the chord progression to Away in a Manger can be played very nicely with nothing but D, G, and A chords. Now, if we follow the examples that we've explored in the previous 2 videos, we should expect that some of these chords want to become 7ths. So let's go ahead and take care of those now. Notice that the D and A chords can transform at certain spots. Remember, this is because they are followed by chords which are 4 letters higher. And check out last week's Silent Night video for a discussion of this idea if you need a quick refresher. So here's what our chord progression sounds and looks like now. So at this point, we've exhausted the naturally occurring dominant chord tendencies, and it sounds great as it is. But we can add some extra interest by inviting some secondary minor chords to the party. Remember, the native secondaries are the 2, the 3, and the 6, and they're all minor chords. Now in the key of D, these chords are going to be E minor, F sharp minor, and B minor, by the way. Okay, so where can we place them? Well, this involves learning how to substitute the minor secondaries for existing major primaries. And it's really simple. Just look at an existing 1 or 4 chord, count up 2 letters, and then flip the chord quality. In other words, if it's already a major chord, make it a minor. For example, G major. Count up 2 letters, G, A, and B, and make it minor. So B minor. For D, we go D, E, F sharp, because in the key of D, we have both an F sharp and a C sharp. And we would also make it minor, F sharp, minor. It also works counting downward. Now, we'll call this process diatonic substitution because we're substituting a chord in the key for another chord in the key. So, for the key of D, here are our diatonic substitutions. For D major, our 1 chord, we get an F sharp minor, which is our 3, or B minor, which is our 6. And for G major, which is the 4 chord, we also get a B minor, which is our 6, or an E minor, which is our 2 chord. Now, there's another way to determine where to put a minor chord, and it's to look for an existing 5/7 chord. Now, almost all 5/7 chords can be preceded by its relative minor 2 chord. Remember, there are some exceptions, especially if the melody notes conflict with the chord tones that we're trying to substitute. There may be a trial and error period until you figure some things out. Now, because we haven't yet discussed bar chords, again, give me a couple of weeks. I have it in the works. We will only use the native 2 chord, which is the E minor, and we will pair it with the 5/7, which is also known as the A7. So now our progression looks and sounds like this. Now, before we move along to the playthrough, let's take a minute to expand upon our foundational or stationary bass note strumming patterns that we looked at last week. In those examples, we played a single bass note only on the root of each chord. But what if we played a pair of alternating bass notes on any given chord? So watch this. We strike a primary bass, the root of the G chord, on the 6th string. But when we play the next G chord, we take a secondary bass, in this case the B, or the 3rd of the chord, on the 5th string. Now, by the way, when playing in 3, it takes 2 measures of a given chord to play an alternating pair. In other words, 1 bass note per measure, but they're different bass notes. By alternating bass notes, our playing takes on a rhythmic undulation we haven't experienced yet. For the D, our primary is the open 4th string, and our secondary is the open 5th string, or the A. And for an A chord, it's the open A and the open E. So here's a quick rule of thumb for placing your alternating basses. If the primary is on the 6th string, play the secondary on the 5th. This applies to the G and E chords. If the primary is on the 5th string, play the secondary at the same fret, but on the 6th string. This applies to the C and the A chords. If the primary is on the 4th string, play the secondary at the same fret of the 5th string. This applies to the D and the standard F chords. Okay, one last thing before the final run through. I want you to notice that the vocal melody starts before the chord progression starts. Now, the chord progression starts on count 1 of the first measure. The melody does not start on count 1. It starts on count 3 of an incomplete measure, or an imaginary measure, if that's how you prefer to think of it, which comes before the actual downbeat of measure 1. It's called a pickup note, and we'll discuss it further in a later episode. I just wanted to bring that to your attention so you don't think that I'm starting strumming on count 2. Now, if we put everything together, the minor secondaries, secondary dominants, and alternating bass lines, Away in a Manger now sounds like this. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed, the little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head. The stars in the sky looked down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus asleep on the hay. The cattle are lowing, the poor babe awakes, but little Lord Jesus no crying he makes. I love thee, Lord Jesus, look down from the sky and stay by my cradle till morning is nigh. Next week, we'll discuss what child is this, which we'll look at in the key of A minor. And we'll discuss strumming in 6/8 time, and we'll use that as an introduction to the topic of the 6/8 problem. Remember, please like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel's content, and feel free to leave comments or suggestions for any topics you might like to see in future videos. Also, hit the notification bell so you always know when new content is posted. My name's Dave Holland, and thanks for watching String 'em Up. Have fun, stay safe, and enjoy your Christmas break. See you next time. Bye.